Welcome to the Wealth Embodied Podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Faringer, an attorney, spiritual guide, and wealth activator. I'm here to help you align your mindset for abundance and break through any glass ceilings with money. If you're ready to embrace your highest calling, manifest with more ease, and create a life that feels lighter and more aligned, then let's dive in. Hello. Thank you for joining me today. This is the Wealth Embodied Podcast. I'm your host, Brianna. Hope you're having a great day so far. I took a week off unexpectedly. So if you missed last week, that's because I didn't have an episode. Life has been lifing and it just, things happen. So here we are. So today's episode is on a topic that has been coming up a lot lately with people that I do one-on-one work with. And it also came up in an event that I went to last week. And so I love talking about things that are coming up for people that I work with in real life, because I know that they're things that are usually affecting other people. This particular subject I do think affects everyone in some form or another, unless you have done an enormous amount of work on really trying not to do this. And the topic that I'm going to cover today is about punishing yourself, and more importantly, how to stop punishing yourself. And so this is something that comes up a lot, and this comes up around money. It comes up around a lot of different things. And as I talk about on here, everything affects money. Money is affected by everything that we do. So a lot of the examples I'm going to give are probably not about money, but everything relates to money. And so something that a lot of people will do is they punish themselves around money, choices that they've made around money. And just in general, people punish themselves around decisions that they make, choices they make around food, what to do, who to spend time with, exercise, all sorts of things. And I find that the more that you do this, the harder it's going to be for you to not only get the things that you want in life, but to get more money. Because if you're punishing yourself over every single decision, it's going to be very hard for you to get what you want, because the reality is nothing is good or bad. Everything just is. And it's how you perceive a situation that dictates what happens in your life and what continues to be attracted to you. And so when you are constantly punishing yourself for choices that you make, you are going to continue to energetically attract to you circumstances that will perpetuate the belief that you need to punish yourself, or that you are wrong or you're bad. And this is around all sorts of decisions. This is not just around big decisions. This is more around the small decisions and choices that you're making in your everyday life that are going to add up to have the biggest effect on your overall well-being, including your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health. It affects people in a way that I don't think they realize, particularly if they do it a lot. So I'm going to get into some specifics here, some things I see a lot of, things that I know help in this arena. And of course, this is, general information. So unless I'm working with a person one-on-one, it's hard to know exactly what's affecting that specific person. But I'm going to talk about some things that I know are helpful with the people that I work with. So, to start off, I really do not like to use the words right or wrong. I do use them because sometimes I feel like I don't have other ways to explain something that I'm talking about, but I really hate this idea that things are either right or they're wrong. There is merit to that. Of course, like 2 + 2 is 4. That's right. 2 + 3 is not 4. That's wrong, right? So like from a factual perspective, sometimes things are either right or wrong, but we have this thing about us as humans where we will make decisions, and then when something does not go the way we planned or the way that we wanted, we then make ourselves wrong for it. And most of the time, things are going right. We just have this way of focusing on the things that we perceive as bad or negative happening in our life. And so we will punish ourselves for these like silly little things that we're doing every day. And so I think, I would start to think about, where am I punishing myself? And this is around everything. This is going to be around money, food, exercise, relationships, tasks, and things that you need to get done. decisions that you've made in the past that you can no longer do anything about. Start to recognize, where are the places that I am punishing myself? Where am I making myself feel bad? Where am I saying to myself, I'm wrong, or I'm irresponsible, or I should have done something different? Because these are a lot of the things that come up in this arena. And I'll just give you an example. I was talking with a friend about this. It was either last week or the week before. And this person mentioned feeling bad because a decision was made to get a milkshake in a drive-thru. And these are the kinds of decisions I'm talking about, guys. I'm not talking about making enormous purchases in your life. Like, those are things, yeah, you do want to, try to focus on making good decisions in huge areas. But the stuff I'm talking about are the small day-to-day things that are happening. Going through a drive-thru and then making yourself feel bad because you ate something maybe that's outside of the diet that you're on, or outside of what you think you should be eating, or whatever the case may be. It's a milkshake. It's not that serious. And I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying this to everyone else. There are very few things in life that are that serious. Now, there are things that are serious, and there are things that have huge impacts on us when maybe we make a decision that doesn't feel in alignment. However, that's not the majority of things. So I think just recognizing that the majority of decisions that you're making in your day are not that big of a deal is incredibly important. So what if you had a milkshake? So what? You're an adult. You made a decision to get a milkshake in that moment for whatever reason. Stop punishing yourself for it. You can't go back and undo it. You can make a different choice next time. There's a lot of different things that can be done, and I'm going to talk about them. If these are things that are constantly happening to you over and over again and you find yourself punishing yourself. But these little things that we do to ourselves make ourselves feel bad because we ate something maybe that we don't think was healthy. Not exercising. This is something I do. I'll make a, decision that I want to exercise and then I don't. Well, there's probably a lot of reasons for that. I'm not prioritizing health in my life. I'm not prioritizing exercise if I'm not making choice to do it. Maybe I'm not picking the right exercise because I'm not enticed to do it enough. Maybe I just got really busy one day and I needed a break. I mean, some of this is just about having forgiveness and grace for yourself. And so I want to talk about, where this comes up, the frequency of this coming up. If this is something you do a little bit here and there, the things I'm going to talk about today are going to be helpful for you. If this is something you do constantly, is constantly punishing yourself, constantly doing this negative self-talk, I would say there could be some bigger issues going on underneath the surface that may need some more attention. And whether or not I could help you with that, I don't know. I'm not a therapist. There could be some deeper therapies that a person may need if this is something that they're doing constantly in their lives. But I think for the most part, we as humans, we tend to focus on what we perceive as being negative instead of the things that are positive and where things are actually going right and where we are making good decisions, which is the very large majority of the time. And, excuse me, not realizing how much of an impact it has on us. And so I think one thing, I just want to go back to is, where can you stop classifying things as right or wrong and just recognizing that they are? And this goes to a topic that I do like to talk about, which is karma, because I think a lot of people think of karma as what goes around comes around. If you do bad things, bad things are going to happen to you. And I don't understand karma that way. The way I understand karma is action. Karma really is action. There's a consequence to every action you take. It doesn't matter what it is. So every single action is going to have a consequence. It's how you perceive that consequence that dictates what happens in your life, whether you're perceiving it as good or bad or negative or positive or right or wrong. So where can you stop doing that? And the interesting thing, I think people think they have to classify things this way, like so that you can then decide how you feel about it. You don't have to say this is right or wrong to have a feeling or an emotion about it. What if something just is? What if something is just happening? And instead of being like, this is right or wrong, you just acknowledge what's happening in the present moment, acknowledging how you feel about it, honoring how you feel about it, not continuing to look at it as this is bad, this is good, and just recognizing that every single thing that's happening is serving us in some way. it starts to take away this feeling that you have that to make yourself wrong or to punish yourself. So that's number one. Where can you stop using those words? Oh, I made the wrong decision. No, you did not make the wrong decision. You made a decision and maybe you're being redirected. So I do think this is a matter of perception. Stop calling things bad, good, negative, positive. It just is. And if you look at things as they just are and face them in the moment without going back to what's in the past, because what's in the past should be left there, and just saying, okay, what's happening in the moment? How do I feel about it? I'm going to honor how I feel. I'm going to use this as information so I can make perhaps a different choice in the future, but I'm not going to continue to say this is good or bad or right or wrong, because when you do that, you're going to continue to make yourself wrong and punish yourself for everything, whether it's around money or something else. What I would look at is if you are punishing yourself around something like a decision that you have either made in the past or something that is happening maybe currently in your life, it's worth spending the time of looking at how that's helping you. So let's just go back to this milkshake idea. I know this sounds silly, but these are the things that are going to really have a big impact on your life, are these small little things that are happening throughout your day that you're punishing yourself for. So I'm going to use the milkshake. How is punishing yourself helping you? Write down all of the ways that you think it's helping you. Because the thing is, the things that we're doing, they are helping us in some way. They're often costing us more than we realize, and they're hurting us in ways we don't realize. So it can be useful to write it down. How is punishing yourself over getting this milkshake helping you? I can think of one very, very easy one off the top of my head. A lot of people believe that punishing themselves motivates them to do something differently next time. For some people, that might be true. For most people, it's not. It just has the effect of making people feel badly about themselves or making themselves irresponsible or whatever the story is that they're living with. And then look at how it's hurting you, right? If I'm punishing myself over a milkshake, what is the cost of that? It's affecting maybe my physical health, if I look at it that way. To me, I'm like, it's a milkshake. If it makes you feel happy and you're not drinking a milkshake every single day or like 3 a day, who cares? It's not that serious. Again, we take things so seriously. Most things are not that big of a deal. This is a reminder I need more than probably anyone. I can take things very seriously. Having a milkshake in a drive-thru, not that serious. Maybe it is if you have severe health issues, but for the most part, it's not that serious. Stop taking everything so seriously and live your life. Do what brings you joy. So how is it hurting you to punish yourself? Well, it's making you feel badly. It's making you say negative things to yourself. So I would look at that. How is this helping me? How is this mindset of me punishing myself and making me feel bad about a decision I made helping me? And how is it hurting me? Because more often than not, you're going to realize it's hurting you in more ways than it's helping you. So that can sometimes be a way to help people start to shift this. So when they hear themselves saying this, they are going to reframe it. So let's just say I want to reframe it. If I was feeling like maybe I shouldn't have had that milkshake, I could just say something like, okay, in the moment, I made that decision and I'll make a different decision next time. That's the truth. And that's a statement that is not harmful to you. So when you catch yourself saying these negative things to yourself or punishing yourself, how can you reframe it in a way that's helpful for you? I enjoyed that milkshake. It was really good and it made me feel good maybe on a day where I wasn't feeling that great. Great, that's fine. Next time you can make a different decision. And if you don't make a different decision and every single time you're going through a drive-thru, you're getting a milkshake, there could be other things going on. But again, don't punish yourself for these little things that are happening. It's not that big of a deal. The other thing I would say is, recognize how it's costing you your happiness. Is it fun to make decisions and then constantly be making yourself wrong for them? No. And a lot of people, if they do this all the time, it feels safe. So even though intellectually they understand it doesn't actually make them feel good, in their bodies it does because it feels safe, because that's what they have been doing. And when people have to feel something different or unexpected or the unknown, that is very terrifying for them. So subconsciously, a lot of people will punish themselves over and over again because it's safe. They feel safe doing it. They've felt that way their whole life. So they keep grasping onto these mechanisms that make them feel safe. So if that's something that's coming up for you, there may be some other things that you need to do some deeper work. And again, unless I'm dealing with somebody one-on-one, I don't know if it's something I can help them with. A lot of times it is. Sometimes it might be something that you need more in-depth therapy or training or even a medical attention given to it. But, a lot of times these punishing things that we do to ourselves are costing us our happiness, and we just don't realize it because we're doing it to ourselves all the time. So I would really think about that. Where are you punishing yourself? Where are you making yourself wrong? If you missed an exercise class, if you didn't do something that you'd planned on doing that day, can you just give yourself some forgiveness? The other thing I would look at is, and I'm sure you've all heard this, but when you're talking to yourself and you hear the things that you're saying to yourself, ask yourself, would I say this to my best friend? Or would I say this to my child? And I'm going to tell you right now, if the answer to that is yes, you probably need some deeper therapy than what I'm talking about right now, okay? Because let's just say you're going through this drive-through, you get this milkshake, and you're like, oh, I'm a fat ass. I am a fat ass. I'm fat, I'm overweight, I make bad choices. Would you say that to your best friend? And if the answer is yes, that's a problem. So I would hope that most people listening to this is not where the path they would go down. Most people would be like, I would never say that to my friend. If you wouldn't say it to somebody else, don't say it to yourself. Don't say it to yourself. So that's one thing to think about. When you catch yourself talking to yourself in those ways, I mean, honestly, if the fact that it's making you unhappy and costing you money isn't enough, sometimes I don't know what is, but I do recognize that in the moment, we do things and we don't realize that we're doing it because it's so habitual. So yeah, think about this. Would you talk this way to your best friend, your child, your romantic partner? If you would, I would look at something a little bit deeper there. And some other ways that I suggest to work on this. So one of the things that I find helps in this arena is to become a better decision maker. Anybody can become a better or a very good decision maker. This is a skill. It's not something you either have or you don't have. It's a skill, and everybody can become a better decision maker. I have found that people that punish themselves tend to be people who think they're not good at making decisions. And so then what will happen is they're constantly second guessing themselves or making themselves wrong over everything. When you're doing this repeatedly with a lot of things in your life, particularly with money, it's going to make it very hard for you to get more money. So second guessing purchases, continuing to hold on to maybe times in the past where you've made what you consider to be irresponsible decisions with money. Let them go. They are in the past. And recognize that the more you practice becoming a better decision maker, which there's a lot of ways to do this, is you develop a confidence so that when you're making decisions in the moment based on the information that you have in front of you, and how you feel, you make a decision and then if this is not in alignment for me, I will be redirected, right? That's a different way of saying I'm wrong, because I don't want you to say decisions are right or wrong. A decision that you make is going to have a consequence, and that is either going to be in alignment with what is your best path, or it's not going to be in alignment. If it doesn't feel like it's in alignment, you can redirect yourself. There are very few decisions that are that big of a deal. And sometimes if we feel a little bit uncomfortable in the moment, instead of recognizing that discomfort is actually the thing that makes us grow and is one of the things that can make the biggest changes in our lives, we say, oh, I'm wrong. This feels weird. I don't like this. So recognizing that you need to lean into the resistance. When resistance is coming up, I always lean into it. I at least question it. I get curious around it and I say, why am I feeling this resistance? Everybody feels resistance, just so that you know. Every single person, even if it doesn't seem like that on the outside. But when you become a better decision maker, this is what happens. You become confident in your decisions. You just say to yourself, I'm making the decision that I'm making today with the best information that I have available to myself. And if in the future it doesn't feel in alignment, I will be redirected. And you just know that when you make a decision. You don't look at it like, is this right? Is this wrong? You make a decision and you know that you can course correct if it doesn't feel right. Or you stay on that course if it does feel right. Stop the right or wrong. You're not wrong for making a decision that doesn't feel in alignment. But the more you become confident in your decision-making skills, the less you second guess things. You don't go back and say, oh, I should have done X. No. Hindsight's 2020. You made the decision based on the information that you had available to you at the time. And if it wasn't right, you can change it. There's so few things in our life that are going to make such big changes in your life that they can't be undone. And people are afraid that every single decision that they make are going to have this life-altering effect. Great. When they do that, it's giving you the opportunity to do things differently and perhaps find the very thing that could be the most amazing thing in your life. But people just want to, they're constantly going back before, oh, I can't make a decision. The more time you spend on making decisions, the more energy it takes away from you. Those are called energy leaks. It takes up energy in your body. It takes up energy in your mind. And it prevents you from actually being able to include things in your life that bring you a lot of joy. When you're constantly wrapped up in making very minor decisions, practice your decision-making skills. I'm very good at making decisions. I've actually been that way most of my life, but have I made decisions that I wish I had done differently? Well, maybe. And I say that because I don't look in the past and regret everything. I made decisions with the best information I had available to me at the time. So be it. It's in the past. I can do something differently next time if confronted with the same scenario, but I just am confident in my decisions. I know if I make a decision and I start taking action towards it, if it doesn't feel right, I can change it. Nothing is that big of a deal. So becoming a better decision maker. Number 2, having boundaries for yourself. So again, I'm just going to go back to the milkshake thing because I think it's a super easy thing to do. If you have maybe set food or things like dietary restrictions that you're trying to keep yourself within, what boundaries can you set for yourself that are actually things that you can live with? So for example, if I was trying to eat a certain amount of calories every day, if my milkshake was built into that calorie intake, fine. And I'm not a nutritionist, by the way. If you're a nutritionist, I'm not giving people health or exercise advice. Excuse me. What I am saying though is creating boundaries for yourself. Maybe you say, I'm going to eat great Monday through Friday, and I'm going to allow myself to have 2 cheat things on the weekend. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. Again, how can you create some boundaries for yourself so that you're not punishing yourself all the time? I think to set restrictions for yourself, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Write down all the things that you want to do and just try your best to live in alignment with those. What I would say is if you are having a hard time with boundaries for yourself, sometimes it's a matter of not prioritizing things. So if I'm having a hard time staying consistent with boundaries that I have, it usually means something is not a priority. So for example, if I'm telling myself exercise is a priority and I'm going to exercise 3 times a week and I only exercise once, I would want to go back and say what was happening on those other days that I didn't make exercise a priority. By the way, everybody can make exercise a priority. I do not care how busy you are. No, if something is a priority to you, you will build it into your life, period. There's nothing else. So if you're starting to create boundaries for yourself around things, whether it's money, food, exercise, whatever the thing is, and you're having a hard time with keeping the boundary, I would say sometimes look at what your priorities are and how you want to be spending your time and how you actually want to live your life, and then look at what you're actually doing, because there's going to be a disconnect. So you may think something is a priority, but if you're not making it a priority, it's not. So I would tell you to look at that. If this is something that you're struggling with, trying to create boundaries for yourself and then continually breaking your boundaries. But I have found when people have more boundaries for themselves of what they are and are not willing to do and what they are and are not available for, the less they make themselves right or wrong for the decisions that they're making in their lives. And then the other thing I would look at is focusing on where you are making decisions that you feel are in alignment with how you want to live your life. And I'm saying that in place of good, right, or positive or right, because I don't like to classify things that way. This is looking at where in your life are you making decisions that feel good, that feel in alignment with where you want to be. Because this is what's happening all the time. We focus on the negative things and we continue to make ourselves wrong for the negative things, without recognizing that the very large majority of the time we are making decisions that are in alignment with what we want to do. So I would ask you, start looking at every single day and writing down in a journal, keeping a record of this, where did I make a good decision today? Again, I know I don't like to use that word good, but where did I make a decision today that felt in alignment with how I want to live my life? It might be you ate breakfast that morning, right? That's something I struggle with. I'm not hungry in the morning, and I've been told by millions of people that it's not good for me to do that. I don't like eating breakfast in the morning. It doesn't feel good to make myself eat when I'm not hungry. However, there was a period of time where I was actually got myself into the habit of eating every day. And I felt like that was a positive because I was actually trying something that I was incorporating in my life, and it felt good at the time. I got back out of the habit. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to whatever it is, just recognizing one place in your day where something felt in alignment. It could be like you woke up on time. It's not earth-shattering stuff, people. These are like minor things every day. Maybe you're like, I made a good money decision today. I, bought something less expensive than what I was planning to, or, I made a decision instead of going to work out to go spend time with a friend. What's wrong with that? If you are making a decision to do something in place of something else that you plan to do, instead of looking at it as how can I make myself wrong, look at where it's making you right. Great. Instead of, maybe you really needed to spend time with a friend, or this particular friend that you haven't seen, or maybe you just needed a little bit of human interaction outside of the normal day-to-day things that are happening. Look at one thing. You can find one thing in every single day where something went the way that you wanted, or something happened. I call these wins, but if you're looking at this from strictly a decision-making perspective, if you are a person that constantly thinks that you make bad decisions, start looking at where you don't feel you're making bad decisions, because there are places, and really get into that mindset of stop telling yourself you're a bad decision maker. If you tell yourself you're a bad decision maker, that's going to be your reality. You're going to have situations that come up in your life that continue to perpetuate that for you. If you start to find evidence for yourself that that's not true, it's going to help you shift that, even without doing all of these other things. I think this is probably one of the most impactful things. Find one thing in your day where you made a decision that was in alignment with what you wanted. It could be you listened to a podcast. It could be you read 10 pages out of a book. Anything. Simple, simple, simple stuff. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I made a decision and I booked a huge client today. That's a big win if that's what happened. But I'm talking about little things, because not earth-shattering things are happening every day. For the most part, our life is a series of decisions that we are making every day. Decision to get up out of bed, decision to take a shower, decision to eat a meal, decision to drive, decision to go to a work office, decision to go here, decision to do X, Y, and Z. Every single thing that we are doing in our daily life is a matter of the choices that we make, and every single thing that we do is a decision. And so when you start to look at that and you realize the very large majority of the time you are making decisions that are in alignment with how you want to live your life, you can stop telling yourself that you're a bad decision maker and stop punishing yourself for things that you do here and there that maybe are not in alignment with what you think you're supposed to be doing. But I feel like I've given a lot of information in this particular on this particular topic, but I think it's so important because even in this women's event that I went to last week, this topic came up, and there was a woman there who said she punishes herself all the time. And one of the things I threw out there was, I do suggest trying to become a bit better decision maker. Her first thing was, oh, I'm bad at making decisions. Well, that doesn't surprise me, because when you think you're bad at making decisions, you tend to make yourself wrong. If you start to say, I'm not bad at making decisions, I just make, sometimes I maybe make decisions that are not in alignment with how I want to live my life, fine. That's a much better way of framing that. Or instead of saying I'm a bad decision maker, say I'm going to work at becoming a better decision maker, whether that's true or not, but it could be true in the future. You have to get out of these patterns of I'm bad at this. Things don't go right for me. I can't make decisions, well, I'm irresponsible with money. All of these things that really come down to choices that we're making every day. Please stop making yourself wrong. We are all just trying to figure it out. And every single person, no matter who they are making choices that sometimes aren't in alignment with what they thought they wanted to do. Fine. It's not that serious. It's just not that serious. And I think if you can try to start looking at things that way and just being like, okay, a milkshake, it's not that big of a deal. I didn't exercise today. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. Like, these things are not that big of a deal, but making yourself wrong all the time, making yourself irresponsible, that's going to really significantly affect your life. So I hope that you learned something today, maybe, started to notice a place in your life where you've been punishing yourself. Please stop doing that. We all need to give ourselves grace. We're all living life every day, and it's not, that easy, even though it may appear that way for a lot of people on the outside, but you are not wrong. You just need to be redirected in some of the things that you're doing in your life. So I hope that you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning into the Wealth Embodied Podcast. Bye. Hey, before you go, would you love to receive my 3-step masterclass to easily create and hold wealth for free? It's called Effortless Money, and it includes the exact framework to start attracting money effortlessly and manifesting abundance with more ease. If you want it for free, all you have to do is leave an honest review of the Wealth Embodied Podcast, take a screenshot of this episode and put it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Brianna_Faringer, and we will send you the free Effortless Money Masterclass. This is how my clients have manifested a $13,000 check, a promotion resulting in a $30,000 salary increase, and significantly improved relationships. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time on the Wealth Embodied Podcast.